What is up, friends? Happy Tuesday evening. Hope you guys are all doing well. Welcome to week 9. We're going to be going over the waiver wire tonight. So if you guys do have questions on your waiver wire situations, please get them in the chats. Good evening to Harris. I see you in there, my man. We'll get to the questions shortly. I'm just going to rifle through the waiver wire report and we'll get all of your stuff answered in a little bit. Let's just take a dive here. This is the membership section of the waiver wire report here. So if you guys want to check out the membership, please do. It's only $8 a month. You can see the favorite ads here. I'll kind of come back and show that later. But I'm going to read the injuries that I'm monitoring. A lot of quarterbacks going on right now. Lamar Jackson hamstring. I think he's going to play this week, so good news there. Looks like Jaden Daniels also on track to play with that hamstring injury. Don't know much about Kyler Murray. They just had a bye week, so I would assume that he's going to be good to go, but you never know. We'll see about that tomorrow. Brock Purdy with the toe injury. They've been saying he's got a chance to play this week, so we'll see about him as well. We're expecting J.J. McCarthy to play after finally, dealing with this ankle injury, having a bye week, watching Carson Wentz die on national television. We're finally going to see J.J. McCarthy start a game for the Vikings again. Michael Penix with the knee injury. We'll watch for his reports. Bryce Young, ankle injury. There's kind of optimistic, I think, of Penix. Optimistic a little bit on Bryce Young. We'll see. It's a tough game in Green Bay. And then Tyrod Taylor. I think Justin Fields has his job back for now. Running back situation, Saquon Barkley, they're on bye this week. He's got that groin injury. I think he'll be fine coming out of the bye. Week 10, they're at Green Bay Monday Night Football, so that's going to be a fun game. Cam Scatterbo was the bad one, the ankle season-ending injury. We'll talk about Tyrone Tracy tonight, I'm sure. Good news for Bucky Irving, who is on bye week 9, expecting him back next week. Omarion Hampton, still in a walking boot, man. So I'm thinking week 13 is maybe week 12, week 13. I can't remember when their bye week is. I think it's 12. Maybe we see him back after their bye. So Kamani Vidal looks good for the next month or so. Quinshon Judkins does have an AC joint sprain. They didn't really specify the seriousness or the level of grade that this is. So timetable is TBD. They're on bye this week, thankfully. So maybe week 10 we get him back. Maybe week 11, maybe just one game missed. We'll see. The trade deadline is next Tuesday. And I think the Browns could move Jerome Ford. We'll see. Isaiah Pacheco was the news that came out today. They played last night, obviously. He's got an MCL sprain. They're saying week to week. I don't know exactly what that means. I'm expecting him not to play here in week 9 against Buffalo. So it looks like Kareem Hunt and Rashard Smith will get the uptake in duties here. And then Trey Benson, man, he's eligible to return next week. I don't think he's going to play next week. They're thinking more, they said 5 to 6 weeks. I don't know if that includes the bye in that timetable. So maybe week 11, week 10, maybe. We'll see. Receivers, Puka Nacua with the ankle. I expect him to play. Nico Collins with a concussion. I'm expecting him to play in practice tomorrow. A.J. Brown, hamstring. He's got the bye week. He should be good to go week 10. Not sure what we're going to see from Garrett Wilson. They're on bye this week. Maybe we see him week 10. I would hope so. Brian Thomas Jr. will watch for his reports with that shoulder injury. Jacoby Myers nursing a knee and a toe injury. They're saying that he should be available. He's a very likely trade candidate for next week as well. Ricky Pearsall, we need to see Ricky Pearsall get some practices in this week. I don't know if he's going to play quite yet. I don't think we're going to rely on Chris Godwin at any point the rest of the year. He's got a leg injury. Haven't heard a lot of information on the Calvin Ridley hamstring. We'll see if he can practice tomorrow. If anyone drops Mike Evans and you have a good team and you can afford to sit on him, we're expecting him back, for fantasy playoffs. Jaden Reed with the collarbone, I'm expecting him to start his practice window sometime soon, November. Same thing with Brandon Ayuk. He might even be practicing this week. We'll find out news tomorrow. And they're saying Cedric Tillman should be back week 10 from his hamstring injury. Couple more receivers here. Marvin Mims with a concussion, probably not playing this week. Christian Kirk with that hamstring. I just don't know if we care anymore. The other Texans receivers have been looking good too, so Kirk might not be valuable. Luther Burden did leave with a concussion last week. I think he's doubtful. And then Josh Palmer, not that we really need him for fantasy, but he's got a knee ankle thing. And then the tight end injuries are not too bad. Brock Bowers with the knee. Expecting him to play week 10. I do think Brenton Strange is a good add. He's eligible to return week 11. So if you need some tight end help to stash, he's the guy. And then Cole Kmet with that back injury, we'll see if he can play. If you need a quarterback this week, I do like Joe Flacco. I know he's got a little injury thing right now, but he should be fine. He's one of the better starts at home against Chicago. I do like Trevor Lawrence at Las Vegas, and I like Sam Darnold at Washington. go ahead and pick up Tyler Shuck in a super flex league. He is starting this week. That's been confirmed this morning. If you need a running back, Tyrone Tracy. Well, first of all, if Woody Marks, RJ Harvey, or Zach Charbonnet are out there, they would be priorities. Tyrone Tracy, though, we've seen him play well before. Last year as a rookie, he looked pretty good at a couple 100-yard games. He's a good pass down back as well. With Scadaboo gone, we're going to see Tyrone Tracy probably get upwards of 60 to 70% of the snaps. I do expect Devin Singletary to maybe be involved. Maybe he's the short yardage goal line kind of back too. So I don't really know quite what the split's going to be. I do expect Tracy to be the lead back though. And he would be the number one priority pickup this week if he's out there. Tajay Spears looks like he might be the guy going forward for Tennessee, even though it's going to be still pretty 50-50. It might be starting to tip towards Tajay Spears' way. And then if they do decide to move on and trade Tony Pollard, we'll see. I think Tank Bigsby's kind of a fun stash just with Saquon injury. Potentially for week 10. And then Brashard Smith and Kareem Hunt. These would be the two guys. If they're available, I want these guys on my team. Brashard Smith might have been picked up over the last week or two. Kareem Hunt maybe was held on. But if they are on your wire, I think they're both RB2 flex material as long as Pacheco's out. And then other guys that I like Ollie Gordon on the bench, Dylan Sampson, just in case Quinshon Judkins is not ready next week. Isaiah Davis looked good last week. And then Samaje Perine earning more work. Devin Neal also the clear backup there. If anyone dropped Bam Knight too, Bam Knight should be picked up. Receivers real quick. I do like Troy Franklin, Christian Watson, and Shamir DK. Trey Tucker could be kind of fun. He's been pretty solid the last month or so. And I know Brock Bowers and maybe Jacoby Myers are coming back, but if Jacoby's traded, that just kind of unlocks Trey Tucker as the lead receiver. So receivers here, Darius Slayton, Alec Pierce, Tez Johnson, just some big play downfield receivers for you. Tight ends, Harold Fannon's probably been picked up in stash, but Mason Taylor still might be out there. I like stashing Brenton Strange as well. Theo Johnson, Colston Loveland, Dalton Schultz, Juwan Johnson, kind of the usual suspects. So there's no clear answer at the tight end spot. And then if you need a defense this week, the Packers at home against Carolina, the Lions at home against Minnesota, Chargers at Tennessee. I think that's going to be a popular one. And then the Rams at home against New Orleans. And maybe the Jags. Maybe the Jags off a bye against the Raiders could be kind of nice. So Harris, with the big question, should I blow all my fob on Tyrone Tracy? My main question would be, how much is that? Is it all $100? Then I probably wouldn't do that. I think, what I kind of like to do is I'm looking at the rest of season, and it's week 9 now. So we have, if you make the fantasy championship and everything, you get 8 more weeks out of this running back. We kind of want him hitting double-digit fantasy points per game. I usually like to pay for as many points that I think I'm going to get for a player. And with Tyrone Tracy, I think you could spend upwards of 70 to 80% of your budget. You have $29 and you don't have a running back too. I think you got to spend all 29 on him. I'm assuming he might even go for more than $29. But if this was my situation, I need a running back too, and I only have $29 left, I think 29 is probably what I have to spend on him. And then you're just going to have to play the waiver wire game where you add guys for free and try to make those week ahead pickups and be ahead of this stuff. But I think this Tyrone Tracy situation it's just a reminder that this is the time of year. We're entering November next week. It's time to start adding these backup running backs. An injury could happen at any point here. Just look at case in point. You have Tyrone Tracy getting elevated. We have Kareem Hunt and Brashard Smith getting elevated in our rankings. Ollie Gordon would be maybe the next one. If Devon Achane goes down, you can get ahead and get Ollie Gordon on your team. I think Dylan Sampson also as well. He might be a sneaky pickup if Quinshon Judkins can't go next week. And then I do think if something happens to Chase Brown, like Samaje Perine right now has been kind of eating into his carries and his snaps and his routes, we want to start adding some of these running backs that we kind of know would be the next man up. I'll go back down to the list here. Are we dropping Michael Carter? I think we can. I know the Cardinals dropped him. They released him, and then I'm seeing signs of him maybe coming back. So sometimes they have to make roster moves, and that maybe just freed them up to make a move, and then they're going to bring him back up. He's not available. I don't know if that's speaking to Michael Carter, but if I'm dropping Michael Carter, yes. It's very clear they're going to go with Bam Knight. We're also going to get Imari DiMercato probably back healthy this week, which could muddy the waters. And they kind of already showed their hand that they don't want to use him as much as they would want to use Bam Knight. So if you have to make a move, like I'm dropping Michael Carter for pretty much any running back that I have on the screen here, whether it's Brashard Smith, Kareem Hunt, Gordon, Sampson, Davis, Pirine, Neal, I'm probably looking to upgrade Carter over any of these guys. And more other stashes like Kyle Monungai, Kenneth Gainwell, maybe Bashal Tutin. And I kind of labeled these priority stashes. These guys I'm very interested. And I'll tell you what, I thought Emmanuel Wilson looked really good against the Steelers the other night. They were using him in the fourth quarter to kind of grind out the game, and he was making big plays. And he actually had a lot more efficiency on his runs and his screens than Josh Jacobs. I think when he's in, defenses kind of have to respect the whole offense, whereas when Jacobs is in, they're kind of keying in on Jacobs and limiting what he can do. So I think, if Jacobs were to miss time, we're all going to be running to the wire for Emmanuel Wilson. And then with Tyrone Tracy elevating to RB1, I think Devin Singletary is a good sneaky ad. Everyone's going to be looking at Tracy, but hey, I like collecting these backups because they're just one play, one injury away from, being ahead on the waiver wire. So I like looking at a lot of these clear RB2s that could easily hop into the RB1 status for their team. And good evening to David. We got Bucky, Walker, Charbonnet. In a Superflex, there's a team in the league that wants my Jackson Dart. He's got Harvey, Tyrone, Okay, I'm assuming, I guess, David, I would need to know who your other QBs are. My man. Because I do like Jackson Dart, especially in a Superflex league, man. He's like kind of the ideal QB2 right now for your squad. So I'm open to this. We do need a running back here. If I could get, he's got a lot of running backs here, so I'm open to David. So I'll let you get that in there, and I'll come back to it. And is it really not working? Oh man, I can't switch my comments. Let me see here. Huh. There we go. So he's got Jalen Hurts and Sam Darnold. I would probably want to try and move Sam Darnold if I could. I think I would keep Jackson Dart, but I get it. If he wants Jackson Dart in this situation, which running back are we going to try here? I guess I would go for Tyrone Tracy for Jackson Dart, but I think you can get better. Like you might even be able to ask for Saquon Barkley at this point and see what happens because Barkley's on bye this week. I do think I'm open to Trey McBride here. You need a tight end, but Bucky, this week you're starting both the Seattle backs. I want one of these running backs. I would see what it takes to get Saquon. I don't want to get Harvey here if I'm ranking these guys. You might be able to get ETN for him. I don't mind ETN rest of the season. But if that's the case, I think for Tyrone or ETN, I only want to send Darnold. I would rather keep Dart. I think he's your QB2. So to me, I don't really want to send Dart unless he's interested in sending Saquon. That's kind of my thought. Who's a good guy to go trade for your running back too? Let's pull that up. All right, so some running back twos. And I'm just going to filter by fantasy points here. All right, so I'm going to kind of go Scatabo and below here. So DeAndre Swift, I think he's been pretty safe and consistent. Not a lot of people love him, but he's been scoring touchdowns and making big plays in both the running and the passing game. So I like DeAndre Swift. I think Breece Hall, definitely. Rico Dowdle might be a sneaky one here. There's a lot of talk about him getting more work than Chuba Hubbard. So if you want to get ahead of that potential switch that we see coming, they're going to get New Orleans, Atlanta in week 10 and 11. That could be nice for Rico. Rico's definitely a guy that I think could be a running back too the rest of the way for us. You can maybe try for Quinshon Judkins, who has the AC joint questionable tag on him right now. He's on bye. You might be able to get him pretty easily. I think Chase Brown. I'm not sure I want to go after Ashton Genty, but maybe. I think maybe Travis Etienne could be nice. I really like Jalen Warren still. A lot of people are nervous about the Steelers right now, but I think Jalen Warren as a running back too every week, I'd feel pretty good about him there. I'm open to Harvey, but I just don't know. We're not seeing him get the volume yet. He's scoring touchdowns, which is nice, but we need to start seeing more opportunities for him. So those are just some RB2s that come to mind real quick for me. Maybe Woody Marks down here, trading for some of those lower running backs there. And good evening to Chase. Hope you're doing well, my man. Just going to leave that up here. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out David's question here. What are we going to, like, if you're trading Jackson Dart, like I value Jackson Dart as a QB1. So in my mind, I'm going to take a swing for a guy like Saquon Barkley. We're probably not getting Jonathan Taylor, but as it is, like Barkley, he's RB9 here on the year. He's going to fall down after this bye week, and now he's got the questionable tag. He's been fine. Finally had the big breakout game against the Giants, but a little bit of a tough schedule coming up. Green Bay, Detroit, then he goes to Dallas and Chicago, gets the Chargers here. I don't hate the schedule. I think there's some good stuff and some bad stuff in there, but I'm going to see what he can. If he wants Jackson Dart, I'm going to ask for Saquon Barkley. Otherwise, you might be able to get two running backs. I would say I want Tyrone and Etienne if possible, or I'd be willing to do like Harvey. You're probably not going to get Trey McBride, but it's worth seeing what he can do. So have that. I think having the dialogue with him is the most important. If I'm only getting Tyrone and Etienne, though, I think I'm only sending Sam Darnold. Let me take a couple look at some other things this week. We do have the DraftKings game lines up. If you guys are interested in looking at it, the Rams 13.5-point favorites this weekend. The Packers 12.5-point favorites. Both of those are at home. The Chargers are away, but they're 10.5-point favorites against Tennessee. So if you're looking for fantasy defenses this week, I do think the Rams, Packers, Chargers, they might be out there. I think the Lions at home too against Minnesota. They're fresh off a bye. You got JJ McCarthy rolling in here. The Vikings offensive line is pretty bad, pretty dinged up right now. I think the Lions can be kind of sneaky. I don't have a good read on this Thursday night game, the Ravens and the Dolphins. It's in Miami. Maybe we'll see a good game. I don't know if I trust either defense on that game. I do like the Patriots at home against Atlanta, but I don't feel great about it. So to me, it's Rams, Packers, Chargers, Lions. Those are my top defenses for the week. And best matchups here, if you guys want to go to the fantasy points allowed tab on the site. Cowboys are still the worst defense. They're going to get Marvin Harrison, and we'll see about Kyler Murray. It's going to be a Monday night game for the Cowboys and the Cardinals. I'm thinking Murray plays. I kind of want Jacoby Brissett to play one more game, though, because I thought he looked good throwing to Marvin, throwing to Trey McBride. He actually kind of helped those guys. And then you want to play Bam Knight, of course, as your running back, too. And then the Bengals, man, this could be a fun, fast-paced game here. Chicago and Cincinnati both allow a lot of points, and I think the implied point total in that one is pretty high. Yeah, we got a lot of games over 50 fantasy or 50 real points. The Cardinals Cowboys projected for 54.5, so I want to lean towards getting players in that game. Cincy and Chicago's at 52.5 implied points. Buffalo, Kansas City, you probably want to get some guys in that game. And then they are projecting a lot of points in this Miami Ravens game here. So look out for those teams. Again, teams that are projected to score the fewest points this week. You got the Saints, the Titans, the Panthers. And it was interesting when I was looking at this on Monday, the Broncos were favored by 1.5 points. And then today that flipped. Houston is now favored at home against Denver by 1.5 points. So use those free tools. You guys can check out the spreads and the game totals and all those numbers there, as well as the fantasy points allowed. So toughest matchups this week. Houston is the #1 fantasy defense against opponents right now, allowing 10 points per game to the quarterback position. That's 4 points fewer than any other team. So this is a tough spot for Bo Nix. It's going to be in Houston again. Bo Nix is more of a super flex option for me this week. I think I would look elsewhere in a 1 QB league and just temper your expectations, even for the running backs, for Cortland Sutton and some of those other players there. Kansas City's defense is playing really good. They're #2 here on this list. So you're going to keep playing James Cook and Josh Allen and think about, Shakir, but I might have to lower my Dalton Kincaid ranking this week. The Falcons are a sneaky one because they're not a great team, but they're the third best team in terms of fantasy points allowed here, and they've only allowed 4 points per game to opponent tight ends. So I'm probably not looking at Hunter Henry this weekend. But they do allow points to the running back. So maybe it's a Ramondre game. Maybe we see Travion Henderson, who I think, this might be one of the last moments where we get to try and acquire Travion Henderson, who finally got some big plays in the running game. He did have a fumble last week, but he finally had some success that could get some momentum rolling. They have a good matchup this week at home against the Falcons. So look into some of that stuff. But otherwise, if we got any more questions, I'll hang out for a little bit. But we can shut it down early tonight. Again, I really like, one of my favorite strategies for waiver wire guys is, if I'm going to bid on some of the guys that are the must bids, like the Tracy and the Chiefs backs. But I really like to add players for free the morning after the waiver wire runs. And that's just one of the ways that I'm able to get ahead a week or so. I like Shamir DK. Not a lot of people know his name yet, but his numbers have actually looked pretty good the last few games. Let's take a peek at him. I'm just curious what ESPN's got him at for projections. He's probably like 8 or 9 points. They still got Calvin Ridley projecting in this one, so his numbers could go up. They got Ayo Maynor up here, and here's DK. So the last couple games, man, he's 7 for 93, and he got a carry, 8 targets. Week before, 4 for 70 and a touchdown. He had been catching a couple passes per game before that. Just starting to get entrenched out there as the clear number 2 receiver behind Ayo Maynor in terms of snaps and routes, but he's actually out-targeted Ayo Maynor, I believe, in those 2 games. So 16 and 16 points. He's a tough guy to cover. He's very fast, and they are clearly doing some good stuff with him right now. So I like DK as a sneaky ad this week. Otherwise, these big play guys, I thought Darius Slayton was a good target for Jackson Dart the other day. He did have that touchdown call back. It was a questionable offensive pass interference. Depends on which way you look at it. Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, both pieces that I want. At this point, if there's a Colts player that's useful, you should probably get him on your team. And then I still have a sore spot with Kayshon Boutte, just because he's going to run a lot of routes, a lot of snaps. He just gets those big, long targets that could lead to touchdowns. Otherwise, he's going to get a low point. So it's kind of like playing with fire. Similarly, though, that's kind of similarly to an Alec Pierce, similar to a Darius Slayton and a Trey Tucker. And again, I mentioned Trey Tucker earlier as a guy that I want to put on my team because the trade deadline is next Tuesday. So, yeah. Otherwise, I think we got it covered for the night, guys. I'm gonna get out of here early. This was fun hanging out. I'll be going live tomorrow night, Wednesday, 7:00 Central Time. We'll talk all of. So it's weird. My thing was on delay here. Thanks for catching that, Harris. They all just uploaded. Okay, let's get to some questions. Start Flacco or JJ McCarthy this week. I'm gonna go Flacco. We want to see what JJ looks like first. How do you feel about Ricky this week? I don't have a good read on Ricky Pearsall, man. He just has not been practicing with this knee injury. You also have Brock Purdy's first game back. I'm a little nervous about that. The overall matchup for a guy like Ricky Pearsall, too. New York Giants are pretty bad against receiver, but I usually don't love playing a guy in his first game back, especially for it's been taking a long time. And Jennings and Kittle and McCaffrey, I think, are a priority over Ricky Pearsall this week. So I wouldn't play Pearsall if he plays, only if I have to, kind of thing. Pick up Ricky Pearsall or Jacoby Myers. I lean. I wish we had a crystal ball where we could see where Jacoby Myers ended up. I think I'd take Jacoby Myers here because he's going to be a hot commodity if he does get moved. If he goes to the Steelers, that could be pretty fun. I think that's one of the more popular spots for him to get going. I don't think the Jets are going to try and trade for a guy like Jacoby Myers, but you never know. I still like Ricky Pearsall long-term, but I think just for this time frame of a window, I'm probably going to just pick up Jacoby Myers and see what happens, even though I think Ricky's the better player. And good evening to Double Tap. We got a stream of tight end this week. Thoughts on Juwan, Colson, or AJ Barner? I only like Loveland if Cole Kmet's out, and we're not going to know that yet. So my answer is probably going to be Juwan Johnson. Let's take a look here at the Rams LA Rams. Where are the Rams? They're number 9 against tight end. They've allowed 11 points per game, but I think I feel the safest with Juwan Johnson as far as floor and ceiling. If Cole Kmet is out, I'm very open to Loveland, though, because the Bengals are the worst team against tight end. So I'm not opposed to holding out hope here for Colston Loveland. I think, if Cole Kmet is out, I'm going to go with Loveland. So maybe just pick up Loveland. If you have to make your pickup tonight, pick up Loveland and let's see what happens, because it would be a pretty easy play for me if he's out. You'd be trading away Scary Terry. I don't know what I'm missing here, Harris. For the running back, we're trading away Terry McLaurin for a running back. Terry McLaurin's value, and he hasn't been healthy, hasn't played a lot. He did have a little injury last night. I don't think it's severe, though. I think he's going to be okay. But if I'm trading away a guy like Terry McLaurin, who I think is a wide receiver 3, it's kind of a lot of the guys that I looked at earlier. I think Jalen Warren's an ideal target for you. You can look at a guy like Woody Marks. You can look at a guy, Travis Etienne, maybe Rico Dowdle. Those are some of the names that I'm looking at here. But you can shoot for the moon and then work your way down. Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but they did not show up, and then they reloaded there. So if there are more questions, I'm not seeing them at the moment right now. Let me just click a few things here and see if there's any more questions in there. But I think I got all the ones that popped in there. So if you guys do have more questions, you guys can always hit me up on Twitter at @TheFellowKGB. Again, I'll go live tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock Central Time. We'll go over the Week 9 games and injury reports and all that good stuff for you guys. Check out thefantasyfellowship.com. Thanks for hanging out with me this evening. Enjoy the rest of your night, and good luck on your waivers, guys. Have a good one. Peace.